All right, so let's go ahead and push our animation skills a bit further. And instead of creating a bouncing ball in place like we did for the rig test, let's explore creating a bouncing ball moving forward. But not just that, let's go ahead and create some sort of story or narrative with the bouncing ball moving forward and see if we can't apply a few more of the 12 principles of animation to it. So let's go ahead and start off with a new scene here. I'm not going to save. And we're going to go ahead and reference in our ball. So we're going to come up here to our file menu and we're going to go ahead and bring that in. So we're going to file, reference, in our reference editor. So I don't know if we've talked about the reference editor quite yet. The reference editor is another way we can bring a reference in. I think the first time we did this, we did a file create reference, but you can also do it through the file reference editor. And we'll explore this more in depth as we go. But with the reference editor, you can use this icon here to bring in a new reference. And this is a good method if you're going to bring in multiple things, which isn't uncommon for animations. So we can go ahead and click that, and we can navigate to our ball, come into our rig here, and we can grab our ball rig 01. And once we're ready, click that reference button to bring it in. Once you're done with that, you can close out the reference menu, hit the 6 key to turn on your textures, and just hit play to make sure you didn't accidentally save over your rig. Now, the next thing we want to do is deal with some of the aspects of the 12 principles of animation right off the bat. We're going to want to deal with the idea of staging, and we're going to want to deal with the idea of appeal. So a staging is going to be how we set up our camera, and appeal is going to deal with making the scene look nice. Same with solid drawing, modeling things that look good. So let's just set up a basic scenario where we have a ball bouncing forward, but it needs to bounce forward into space, and it needs to bounce forward onto something, so something like the ground. We can start by going to create polygon primitives and plane to create ground, and I can scale this up, and we can have some ground here. Then, just like we did with the forest scene, we can come to create cameras, and we can set up a camera to establish a shot cam. Over in my outliner, I'm going to double click this to call this shot cam. And I'm going to switch to the split view here to enable the ability to have the camera turned on while I build out my scene. Remember, we can come up here to panels, perspective, and we can select our shot cam to set this up. From this point, we can start to navigate here. Now, depending on how I want to set this, I could click on my ball and hit F. So I could grab the rig and just hit F to frame. And I could go ahead and click on my film gate here so I can see the confines that I'm going to be working in. And in this instance, I could frame this up so I have my ball, and I could set my ball to be bouncing forward. Now, I could take this a step further even, and I could actually make this ball bouncing forward through my forest scene. That would be an interesting way to add a bit of appeal and recycle some of our other assets. We have that over in another project, but if we wanted to transfer to our existing project, we could open this up in a file browser. We could go to scenes here, and I could create a new folder here called sets. And in the sets folder, I could double click my project too. I could come into my scenes here, and I could find my forest scene here and copy it over. Now, it's probably going to be the forest scene camera locks. Make sure you name your scenes clearly. But I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste this into here, into sets. We can right-click to copy, and then we can right-click to paste. That way I don't lose it in my original setup here. And to make sure that I don't mess up the scene in any way, I could delete the shot cam, because I'm probably not going to need that. I could delete this ground plane, and we could reference this in. So I could come to the File, Reference Editor. I could hit the plus icon, and we could go to our sets under our sets folder here, and we could grab our forest and hit reference. And you'll see now I have my whole forest in my scene here, and it's a pretty good size compared to my ball. Now you can see my forest wasn't really that cleaned up because we hadn't explored how to clean things up yet. So I might want to go clean this up by going into the file. But before I do, I could go ahead and do a save scene as. We could put this under animations, and we could make this our ball bouncing forward and save as. Then we can open up our set here, and using some of the knowledge that we've gained, we can clean this up. So I'm going to grab everything that's not the shot cam, and I'm going to nest this under a master group. Just hit Control G, and I'll name this forest set. And for organization purposes, why don't we come over here and add a layer? So that way we can make it so we can't select this. So I'll create a layer here, and I'm not going to want to click on this during animation, so I can set this section here to a R for reference. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and click R for reference there. And while I'm at it, let me unlock the shot cam. Go ahead and unlock that. So that way we can make it move and we can adjust it for our animation scene. I'll go ahead and save this now, and we can reopen our scene. If you ever need to access a recent file, you can come down here to recent files, and this can save you a bit of time. You'll see here's our ball bouncing forward. I can click on that and it will re-access my scene. And you'll see, since we used a reference, our organizational changes are here. And I can move this group now. So what I might want to do is have a shot where we have the ball bouncing into the forest. So that will be our story. Maybe someone was playing at a nearby park, and then this ball goes bouncing into the forest. So I'm going to change my camera a bit here. I want to have kind of this narration of a story and maybe find some nice framing here. And we could have the ball kind of bounce over us and bounce into the forest scene here. Now I'm also going to leave some room to place some sky in here because we're going to do a little bit of compositing work, and we can just add in a sky very easily with that. We'll also have to do some lighting on this, but I can decide how I want that to go. I kind of like the idea of maybe the ball bouncing down the path there. We can even do a little bit of an animation here where the camera kind of pans out and the ball comes swooping forward. I don't know if we want to get that complicated for our first scene here. I'm thinking about how I might want the angle to go and how I want the sky to be. And I want that ball to kind of disappear into there. So I could even think of a different angle if I find another angle to be appropriate. But I like how the path kind of disappears here, and we can lose the ball easily that way. So let's get the sky in there, though, because I want to do some compositing work. Okay, so I'm going to go with framing that looks something like this. That should be okay for what I'm doing. And once I have this in place, I'm going to come to my shot cam, highlight these, and we'll just go ahead and lock selected. Now, it looks like it won't let us lock these when they're from another file. So we can do another thing here called a camera bookmark. In our menu here, if we look at this little icon here, you can create something called a camera bookmark, and that will just guarantee the camera can come back to here. So we can go ahead and come to this first frame and click that. And if you come under your menus here, under View and Bookmarks, you'll see that there is a Camera One View bookmark. So if I were to move this and we were to go to View, Bookmarks, Camera One View, you'll see it'll bounce right back. So that's another way we can protect our cameras. So maybe we don't want to reference in our camera in the future. Good to know, but now we have it in our scene. So once we have that set, we can think about where we want the ball to start. And I'm actually going to have the ball start behind the camera probably and bounce forward into the scene. So that way we get something called an establishing shot, and then the ball can come flying over the camera here and go bouncing down the pathway. There we go. So that'll be the idea for my little animation. So let's go ahead and save our set here now that we have it in place. Get our little character at our start point. Let me do a save scene as. We're going to create under the animation. We already have our ball bouncing forward, so we can just rewrite over that. And now we're ready to get started. So as a challenge, what I want you to do is try combining your own set with the ball, or if you can think of another story you want to create, try creating a new set for your ball. If you want an additional challenge, you could also consider texturing the set the same way you textured the ball to add a bit more detail to it. So feel free to do that if you would like, or you could come back and do that after the fact. And since we're using a reference, it would refresh and load in, which is awesome. So go ahead and pause, try bringing in your set and combining your ball and your set together. And we're going to go ahead and create a little animation of the ball moving through the set.